Good day everyone, this is Storming Thunderhead, and I wish you all pleasant weather and smooth flying. Today's video is a collection of the greatest, most hard-fought, and often most costly fights that I've had in my multiplayer career in IL-2 Great Battles. In these fights, I'm usually not the victor, although in a few of them I am. However, these fights fit into this video because I was usually fighting against more than one opponent, and I was usually fighting opponents that were often more maneuverable or better than my own plane. Secondly, and because of the first point, it required a lot of skill. So these are the most skillful fought fights that I've had in multiplayer. And in this clip, I'm flying on the Finnish Virtual Pilots server. I'm flying in the P51 D15 with my fancy paint job on. And I'm flying over our front line, and I see this 190 D9 over our targets, our front troops close to the wet smoke, which indicates the paratrooper drop point. And so now as I'm diving after this 190 D9, I see yet another 190 D9 flying just past me, and he will become a factor later on in the fight. And so will a 109 G14. So I'm about to get involved in a 1v3 situation here. Meanwhile, I'm still going to try and continue this bounce on this 190 D9. He is turning towards my lines. I do take lead, get a few shots in, and I immediately start extending away, and I will at a later point turn north. This was on the Moscow map, so in the Finnish Virtual Pilots server, the Moscow map, the front line runs east to west, so I will end up turning north to try and head back to friendly lines. And I do end up dragging these guys for quite some time before recommitting. Anyway, that's about all the talking I'm going to be doing for this video clip. I'm not going to be talking much during the video. I'm just going to introduce each clip and then I'll let the fights play out. So this fight had a rather successful outcome. I shot down a 109 and a D9 and also damaged yet another 190 D9. But at that moment the map just rolled. That was right at the end of the mission. So those guys were a bit unlucky that the map didn't roll earlier. In this video clip, you're going to see me in a Yak 1 Series 69 take on a 109 F4 at extremely high altitude. Just look at the altimeter, nearly 8,000 meters. Now, inevitably, I will end up going defensive against the 109 F4, considering we're at such a high altitude, and the fact that I'm in a Yak 1. But this 109 F4 pilot was astonished at how well I was able to defend against him, and the fight did take a long time, and he only was able to shoot me down after we got way down to the deck and a second 109 got involved in the fight. And it was also only down there on the deck that he was even able to get a shot on me. So although this fight has a bad ending, it is still very entertaining to watch, and an excellent example of defensive flying. And you know, I would say that I put the skills of this 109 F4 pilot to the test in just this one fight alone. Now, it is very important to note that this fight was fought before the Battle of Normandy was released. So that was before the damage model changes. So back then, the Yak-1 wing was very weak. It only really needed one 20mm round to hit it, one 20mm high explosive round to hit the wing of the Yak-1 for it to lose all lift, and that's pretty much what happened here. It was just one hit, and that's what took me out. But it was such an enjoyable fight against another skilled and experienced 109 pilot, so I would definitely salute to that 109 F4 pilot who shot me down. Now, this fight that I'm about to show you is the longest single fight that I've had against the same opponents in the same plane. And I personally have never seen anyone have a fight this long. And I'm flying the 109 G14. I'm still on the Finnish Virtual Pilots server, and I've just taken off. I've actually been climbing up to altitude, and I've spotted these two contacts very far away, and they look to be enemy doing cap over our front depot, rear depot area. And I had been active in the area beforehand. That was where I got shot down quite a few times, and so I'm heading back here to see if I can make up for the loss of 2 aircraft in this area. Now, one thing I must tell you guys is that sadly I wasn't recording with OBS at the time, so this is from the in-game recording, and for that reason when the planes are far away they will be quite large, and you may think that it was very easy to spot these planes, and it wasn't. These were just tiny pixels. But the in-game recording does make aircraft at longer distances larger, so that will make it a bit easier for you guys to see them, but this is not exactly how I saw it. But with that put aside, I hope you guys will enjoy this fight, and just to let you know, this fight lasts nearly 14 minutes long. Enjoy. Now this was quite a lucky shot. I'd equipped the G14 with a 30mm cannon, and to my immense surprise, I found out in the replay that the 30mm cannon cell traveled that distance downhill and found its mark on the trailing edge of the left wing of the P-51. And I'm so surprised that happened. Now, it didn't actually do much damage, partly because it hit the trailing edge of his left wing, but also because this was filmed once again before the Battle of Normandy was released, so before the damage model changes. And before the damage model changed, the 30mm high explosive rounds or any large caliber high explosive round didn't do the damage it was supposed to do. They still don't really do the damage that you would expect them to. It's still the same damage model, it's just been modified in some sectors, been given more correct values. But they do definitely seem to do a bit more damage nowadays than they used to. So that 30mm round won't really determine the outcome of this fight. It will just make the P-51 slightly slower, but that's about it. Now at this point, if I was more worried about preserving my life and keeping my plane, I would have headed back to the airbase and landed. But I was wanting to be aggressive. I wanted to go on the offensive now that the opportunity had arisen. I was trying to at least keep them busy for as long as possible, but I mainly wanted to shoot them down. I also didn't want to let these guys go scot-free and just roam around hunting German planes left, right and center and shooting them down. I was wanting to take these guys down from their perch position and ruin their mission. But my main goal was to shoot them down. Now at this point I tried to extend away from the fight and land at the airfield, but unfortunately that Spitfire turned around and I was afraid he was going to suit me up on landing. So I decided that, well, my engine's holding out so far, so maybe I'll be able to force one more fight and maybe kill him. And this time I pushed my luck too far. So that's my engine done for, and once again, because this was filmed before Battle of Normandy, there were a few consequences, sadly, to this forced landing. Now that brings us to the only fight in this video that I recorded after the Battle of Normandy was released. So after the damage model was changed and updated, and after the bug was fixed that caused pilots to die instantly on landing. And this time I'm in an RA5, once again on the Finnish Virtual Pilots server. This was during plane set 4, when the 190A3 has just become available. And this was actually a joint effort between me and 2 other pilots who all took fighters. We were not on comms, we were just coordinating via the chat. And I decided to climb high and try and look for 2 190s that had attacked me on an earlier sortie in around the same area, but instead I found this 109 climbing directly in front of my nose. So I decided to give chase. He hadn't seen me just yet, although he will shortly, and he will try to outclimb me with very little success. Now, like I said, this was a joint effort between me and 2 other pilots, and the effort was to try and clear enemy fighters from behind enemy lines in Sector 1. And this was because we had all been operating individually in the area and meeting hordes of German fighters. So we agreed on the chat that we were going to take fighters to the area and try to provide a bit of mutual support whilst we attempted to clear the area of German fighters. But because we weren't on comms such as Discord or SOS, it didn't really work out that well. So at this point, in trying to avoid this 109, I ended up ditching the R5 into a field. It was somewhat purposeful, but at the same time a bit of an accident. But that was a very long fight, very hard fought fight, and I definitely learned something from this fight. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It will be very interesting to hear what you observed in these fights and what you learned from these fights as well. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and feel free to leave a comment. And until next time, keep clear of thunderheads.